Most people think strength is loud. It isn't. Real power is the ability to feel nothing, when everything around you is designed to pull a reaction out of you. If your emotions can be triggered, you can be controlled. This way of operating was not common. It was reserved. Kings were trained to do this early. Rulers learned that emotion in critical moments was a liability, not a virtue. This is not a video about feeling stronger. It is about becoming harder to move. From this point forward, you will stop leaking reactions. You will stop explaining yourself to noise. You will stop letting other people's emotions decide your posture. What you are about to learn is not empathy, and it is not aggression. It is control under pressure. Stillness when others scramble, clarity when others collapse. This is where hesitation is removed. Not through force, but through training. This is where you stop being managed by moments and start managing outcomes. Watch carefully, because once you learn how to stay untouched, nothing emotional will ever rule you again. Emotion is not created by events. It is created by expectation. You expect approval. You expect recognition. You expect closure. You expect a certain response. The moment you expect an outcome, you become dependent on it. And dependency is where emotional instability begins. Watch yourself closely. Notice how calm you feel when nothing is expected and how tense you become the moment you need something to happen. That tension is not motivation. It is attachment. Machiavelli understood this clearly. He warned rulers about becoming dependent on fortune, on outcomes they could not fully control. A prince who needed things to go a certain way was already weakened because fortune can always turn. When you detach from outcomes, something changes inside your body. Your nervous system stops bracing. Your mind stops racing ahead. You stop rehearsing conversations that haven't happened yet. You still act, but you act without desperation. Approval no longer excites you. Rejection no longer destabilizes you. Closure stops being a requirement. This terrifies emotional people. They rely on reactions. They rely on visible investment. When you act without attachment, they cannot read you. Detachment does not mean passivity. It means you focus on process, not reward, on position, not payoff. You show up, you do your part, and you let the result reveal itself. When outcomes no longer control you, people lose the ability to reward or punish you emotionally. That is the first layer of emotional independence. Not coldness, not numbness, freedom from being pulled. The fastest way to expose your emotional center is to react immediately. Immediate reactions feel honest. They feel natural. They feel justified. They are none of those things. They are leaks. The moment you respond in real time, especially under pressure, you reveal what moved you. Anger shows where you can be provoked. Defensiveness shows what you are protecting. Excitement shows what you desire. All of this information is useful to other people. Machiavelli warned rulers about speed, not because speed was always wrong, but because haste removed choice. A prince who reacted instantly was acting under the influence of others, not his own judgment. Delay restores control. Silence creates space. Space forces the other person to continue, and when people continue talking, they reveal more than they intended. This is why calm unsettles emotional minds. They expect reaction. When it doesn't arrive, they grow uncomfortable. They fill the silence. They explain themselves. They push harder. In that moment, the balance shifts. Not reacting does not mean doing nothing. It means deciding when to act. You read the situation fully. You allow emotion to pass. You respond only after the internal surge has settled. Most conflicts are won or lost in the first few seconds. Not by what is said, but by whether you react. Practice teach. Ease quietly. Pause before replying. Let messages sit. Let comments pass without immediate correction. Give yourself time to think, not to defend. People who control timing control interaction. When you stop reacting in real time, others lose the ability to steer you emotionally. They may call it cold. They may call it distant. What it really is discipline, and discipline is invisible power. Most people do not suffer because they are in pain. They suffer because they believe pain means something about them. They treat pain as a verdict, as punishment, as proof that something is wrong, unfair, or personal. This is a mistake. Pain is not a judgment. It is information. Machiavelli understood this clearly. Rulers who moralized pain became resentful, reactive, and distracted. Those who survived learned to treat pain the way they treated threats or setbacks, as data to be analyzed, not emotions to be indulged. When something hurts, most people ask, why me? That question invites anger, self-pity, and blame. None of those improve position. The useful question is different. What does this tell me? Pain reveals pressure points. It shows where you are exposed. It shows where reality is resisting you. If a loss hurts deeply, it means attachment was present. If rejection destabilizes you, it means approval was required. If criticism burns, it means ego was involved. None of this is shameful, but none of it should be ignored. Moralizing pain keeps you stuck in reaction. You replay events. You search for fairness. You demand emotional justice. Reality does not respond to demands. When you remove moral meaning, pain loses its grip. The body still feels it, but the mind no longer collapses around it. You stop turning discomfort into identity. This is why emotionally controlled people appear unnaturally calm after setbacks. They are not suppressing pain. They are not pretending it does not exist. They are refusing to decorate it with story. Pain arrives. They register it. They extract information. Then they move. This discipline hardens you without making you bitter. It prevents suffering from turning into resentment. It keeps attention on position instead of emotion. Practice this deliberately. The next time something hurts, do not explain it. Do not justify it. Do not moralize it. Ask only what it reveals about you and the situation. Once pain stops being personal, it stops being powerful. And when pain loses power, so does everything that once used it to control you. Most people believe sharing weakness builds trust. Sometimes it does. More often it creates leverage. Every confession reveals a pressure point, a fear, an insecurity, a need for reassurance. Once revealed, it cannot be taken back. Machiavelli warned rulers about exposing fragility without purpose. Not because vulnerability was immoral, but because it was dangerous when uncontrolled. A prince who revealed his doubts freely invited interference. The same applies now. When you confess weakness casually, you give others information they did not earn. They may not use it immediately. They may not even intend to use it at all. But it sits there stored, remembered, waiting for the right moment. This is how power shifts quietly. People rarely weaponize your strength. They use your fears, your guilt, your desire to be seen as good. This does not mean you should never be vulnerable. It means vulnerability must be chosen, not leaked. There is a difference between strategic openness and emotional dumping. One builds trust on your terms. The other hands control away. Casual confession often comes from emotional relief seeking. You want to feel lighter. You want understanding. You want someone else to carry part of the weight, but relief is temporary. The exposure remains. Those with emotional discipline choose when and where to reveal weakness. They decide who deserves access. They decide what information serves a purpose. This restraint makes them be distant. But distance is protection. When people cannot map your fears, they cannot steer you. When they cannot predict your sensitivities, they hesitate. This creates psychological safety, not just for you, but around you. Practice this quietly. Before sharing a weakness, pause. Ask what purpose it serves. Ask whether it strengthens position or weakens it. If it does neither, keep it private. Not everything felt must be spoken. Not everything painful must be shared. When weakness stops leaking out of you, others lose one of their most effective tools. That is not cruelty. That is control. Most people believe closure is necessary to move on. They believe they need explanations, apologies, or final conversations to feel at peace. This belief keeps them stuck. Closure is not a requirement. It is a preference. And preferences create dependency. When you seek emotional closure, you hand control to someone else. You wait for their words, their understanding, their acknowledgement. Until they provide it, your mind remains open, unresolved, and reactive. Machiavelli understood that unresolved situations were often safer than resolved ones. A ruler who demanded explanations exposed his need. A ruler who moved on without answers preserved momentum. Momentum is more valuable than comfort. The desire for closure comes from discomfort with uncertainty. The mind wants a clean ending. It wants a story that makes sense, but reality rarely offers that. People leave without explaining. They betray without apologizing. They change without warning. Waiting for closure keeps you emotionally tied to events that are already over, emotionally disciplined. People do something different. They close the door themselves. They do not need agreement. They do not need validation. They do not need the other person to understand. They decide the matter is finished and move. This decision feels harsh at first. The mind resists it. It wants to revisit, to replay, to correct the past. But every replay reopens the wound. Closure seeking turns pain into a loop. Detachment turns it into a line that ends. This does not mean you suppress emotion. It means you refuse to let unfinished business dictate your future actions. You accept that some answers will never come, and you accept that you do not need them. This is why emotionally controlled people appear cold after breakups, losses, or conflicts. They are not unfeeling, they are finished. Practice this deliberately. When you feel the urge to reach out for explanations, stop. When you want one last conversation, pause. When you wait for an apology, cut the wait short. Decide instead. Closure is a luxury, momentum is power. When you stop seeking emotional closure, you reclaim time, focus, and direction, and no one else gets to decide when you move forward. The need to be understood is one of the most underestimated emotional dependencies. It feels harmless, even virtuous, You want people to see your intentions, to recognize your effort, to know that you are not who they assume you are. But the moment you need to be understood, you give others power over your inner state. Misunderstanding becomes an injury. Silence feels like rejection. Lack of recognition turns into resentment. Machiavelli observed that powerful men were often misunderstood and unaffected by it. They did not waste energy correcting every false impression. They knew that clarity was not always useful and often dangerous. Explanation exposes motive. Motive invites interference. When you explain yourself too much, you reveal what you care about defending. You show where criticism lands. You show where doubt hurts. Emotionally disciplined people do the opposite. They allow misunderstanding to exist, not because they enjoy it, but because they understand something most people do not. Being understood is not required to be effective. Results speak in ways explanations never can. This is why calm, reserved people often seem distant or cold. They do not rush to justify themselves. They do not chase agreement. They let others think what they want. This creates space, and space creates authority. The need to be understood often comes from ego seeking reassurance. You want confirmation that you are good, right, or reasonable. But reassurance is unstable. It must be renewed constantly. When you remove this need, something changes. Criticism loses urgency. Misinterpretation loses weight. Silence stops feeling hostile. You stop performing for understanding. You start acting for outcomes. This does not mean you never communicate clearly. It means you choose when clarity serves you. Strategic clarity builds alignment. Compulsive explanation builds weakness. Practice this deliberately. The next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, pause. Ask whether understanding is actually required, or whether you are just uncomfortable being misjudged. If nothing essential is at risk, let the misunderstanding stand. Not everyone needs access to your reasoning. Not everyone deserves your inner narrative. When the need to be understood disappears, your emotional exposure drops sharply, and with it goes one of the easiest ways people learn to control you. Silence makes people uncomfortable. That discomfort is not your problem. Most people explain their silence because they feel pressured to relieve tension. They worry about being misunderstood. They fear appearing rude, distant, or suspicious, so they fill the gap, and in doing so they give away control. Machiavelli understood silence as a position, not an absence. A ruler who explained himself too quickly weakened his authority. Silence, when held calmly, forced others to reveal their intentions first. When you explain your silence, you turn it into defensiveness. You show that the quiet needed justification. You show that someone else's discomfort mattered more than your timing. Silence with confidence does the opposite. It creates space. And in that space, people project, they assume, they worry, they overthink. Some will try to fill the silence by talking more. Others will push, provoke, or demand a response. Every one of these reactions is information. Silence reveals who needs control, who needs reassurance, and who needs validation. Words hide these things. Silence exposes them. This is why emotionally reactive people dislike quiet. They depend on feedback. They need signals to orient themselves. When those signals are absent, they lose balance. Never explaining your silence does not mean being evasive or passive-aggressive. It means you respond when you choose, not when pressure is applied. There is a difference between intentional quiet and avoidance. One is control, the other is fear. Emotionally disciplined people know the difference. They do not rush to clarify. Pauses. They do not apologize for thinking. They do not soften silence to protect others from discomfort. They let the moment breathe. Practice this deliberately. The next time you feel the urge to explain why you didn't reply, stop. The next time you want to, justify a pause, resist it. If a response is needed, give it cleanly and without apology. If it isn't, say nothing. Silence that is not explained becomes presence. Presence creates authority. When you stop explaining your silence, you stop allowing others to set your pace. And that removes one more way they learn to move you. Most people stay visible too long. They remain present after their value is peaked. They keep explaining after their point has landed. They stay available even when availability weakens their position. This is not loyalty. It is emotional attachment to presence. Machiavelli understood withdrawal as a tactic, not a retreat. Rulers did not disappear out of fear. They withdrew to reset perception, reduce exposure, and regain leverage. Distance changes power when you step back. At the right moment, emotional intensity drops. Dependence weakens. Dynamics rebalance. People begin to feel your absence. And absence forces reflection. Controlled withdrawal is not cutting people off impulsively. It is not ghosting out of anger. It is not silence used as punishment. Those are emotional reactions. Controlled withdrawal is deliberate, timed, unemotional. You leave the interaction before it drains you. You reduce access before familiarity breeds disrespect. You disappear before overexposure makes you predictable. This creates a vacuum. In that vacuum, people reassess, they notice what changed, they question their assumptions. Some will reach out, some will become anxious, Some will reveal entitlement they kept hidden. All of this is information. Emotionally reactive people fear distance because it removes feedback. They worry about being forgotten. They mistake presence for importance. Emotionally disciplined people know better. Presence is only powerful when it is optional. When you withdraw calmly without announcement or explanation, you regain control over rhythm. You choose when to re-enter. You choose the terms. This is why controlled withdrawal feels threatening to some people. It cannot be negotiated. It cannot be rushed. Practice this deliberately. End conversations before they drag. Leave spaces before you feel depleted. Reduce communication when it becomes habitual instead of intentional. Do not dramatize the withdrawal. Do not justify it. Let it stand. Distance clarifies value. Silence restores balance. Absence removes emotional noise. When you learn to withdraw without emotion, you stop being consumed by situations that no longer serve you, and you teach others quietly that access to you is not permanent. Most people give themselves away long before anyone asks. They share what excites them. They share what hurts them. They share what they fear, hope for, and struggle with. They call this honesty. In reality, it is exposure. Your inner world is the map to how you can be moved. The more people know about it, the easier you are to influence. Machiavelli understood this clearly. Rulers who revealed their inner state, doubts, fears, hopes became predictable. Predictability invited pressure. Pressure invited control. Privacy is not secrecy, it is restraint. When you constantly express how you feel, you create patterns. People learn what excites you, what upsets you, what destabilizes you. Once those patterns are visible, they can be used. Emotionally disciplined people do something different. They keep their inner world contained. They do not narrate their thoughts. They do not announce their struggles. They do not explain their emotional shifts. This creates ambiguity. Ambiguity slows others down. It forces them to guess. And guessing creates hesitation. Hesitation is power. This does not mean becoming closed or isolated. It means choosing what is revealed and what remains yours. Not everyone deserves access to your fears. Not everyone needs to know what motivates you. Not everyone should hear what unsettles you. When people cannot read you, they stop trying to steer you. They become careful. They test less. They push less. This is why calm, private individuals often feel intimidating without trying to be. There is no emotional surface to grip. Practice this deliberately. Stop explaining how you feel unless it serves a purpose. Stop filling silence with self-disclosure. Stop turning emotions into conversation. Let your inner life remain quiet. The less you leak emotionally, the more grounded you feel. Your reactions slow down. Your center stabilizes. And when your inner world is no longer public, people lose one of the easiest ways to enter your mind. That is not isolation. That is protection. Praise feels harmless. Disapproval feels painful. That is why both are effective tools of control. The moment praise starts to to you, your behavior changes. You become careful. You soften your language. You hesitate before acting, not because it is the right move, but because you want approval to continue. This is how people are trained without realizing it. Machiavelli understood that rulers who depended on approval were already compromised. Public opinion shifts quickly. It has no loyalty, and it turns the moment it senses weakness. A prince who needed praise could be guided by withholding it. A prince who feared disapproval could be steered without force. The same mechanism works today. Most people adjust themselves constantly to remain liked. They call it being polite. They call it being reasonable. They call it being mature. In reality, it is emotional negotiation. They say what will be accepted. They hide what may be judged. They abandon positions before anyone challenges them. Praise pulls them forward. Disapproval pushes them back. Both move them. Emotionally disciplined people exit this system. They do not become arrogant. They do not become reckless. They become independent. They listen to feedback, but they do not feed on it. They register criticism, but they do not obey it. This is why they often appear indifferent, not because they don't care, but because they are not controlled by reaction. When praise excites you, it can be used to shape you. When disapproval frightens you, it can be used to silence you. Remove both and something shifts. Your decisions slow down. Your speech becomes cleaner. Your actions stop bending toward comfort. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means separating information from emotion. Feedback becomes data, not validation, not condemnation. Most people never make this separation. They build identity on being liked. They protect it constantly. That protection costs them honesty, direction, edge. Practice this deliberately. Notice when you change your tone to be accepted. Notice when you avoid action to prevent judgment. Notice when praise affects your mood more than progress. Then stop adjusting. Do not argue with praise. Do not defend against criticism. Let both pass without internal reaction. Your value does not increase because someone approves. It does not decrease because someone disapproves, wants praise and disapproval, lose emotional authority. People lose the ability to reward or punish you psychologically. And when no one can move you with approval or fear, your actions finally become your own. That is not arrogance, that is freedom. One of the fastest ways to lose emotional control is to expect rational behavior from emotional people. Most people do not think first, they feel first. Then they justify, they speak from mood, not logic, they decide from impulse, not clarity. They react long before they understand what they are reacting to. This is not an insult, it is an observation. Machiavelli understood this reality clearly. He did not write for ideal men, he wrote for men as they are. Rulers who expected reason from the crowd were disappointed. Those who understood emotion learned how to navigate it without being pulled into it. When you expect people to be fair, consistent, or self-aware, you create unnecessary frustration. You take reactions personally. You search for logic where there is none. You waste energy trying to explain what does not want to be understood. Emotionally disciplined people stop doing this. They accept that most behavior is emotional at its root. Ego, fear, envy, insecurity, desire. Once you see this, disappointment drops. You stop being surprised when people contradict themselves. You stop being shocked when they change positions. You stop feeling betrayed when emotions override promises. Instead of reacting, you observe, you listen to how something is said, not just what is said. You notice timing, tone, intensity. Emotion reveals motive faster than words. This shift does not make you cynical. It makes you accurate. You stop arguing with emotional responses. You stop trying to win logic battles that were never about logic. You adjust your approach accordingly. With emotional people, clarity often comes later, if at all. Pressing them for reason only escalates tension. Emotionally controlled individuals know when to disengage, when to wait, when to let emotion burn itself out. They do not mirror emotional chaos. They remain steady. This steadiness creates contrast, and contrast creates authority. People tend to follow those who are not emotionally pulled by the moment. They trust calm more than passion. They lean towards stability when things feel uncertain. Practice this deliberately. The next time someone reacts strongly, do not correct them immediately. Do not argue logic. Observe the emotion underneath. Ask yourself what they are protecting, what they fear, what they want. Then respond not to their words, but to the situation. Once you stop expecting rationality from emotional minds, resentment fades, surprise fades, reaction fades. And when reaction fades, control returns. Understanding the single truth that most people operate emotionally removes countless unnecessary conflicts from your life. It also makes you far harder to manipulate because you no longer mistake emotion for intent.